Hello everybody, my name is Jeremy, this is Red Beans Recording Modular, and you're probably saying, hey, didn't this video exist already? Why is it here again? Well, fun story, that's the 4MS Catalyst sequencer, and that's the 4MS Catalyst controller, but the second one isn't the Catalyst controller, it's actually the Catalyst sequencer. That's right, I was sent the same firmware with the different face plates. So I'm redoing some of the VO here and letting you know that instead of a video on both the Catalyst sequencer and the Catalyst controller, it's a video on the Catalyst sequencer twice. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy. Let's see, let's go from here. So let's start off with the Catalyst sequencer. This is the newer one. I am going to be running it clocked. I have a clock in right at the upper top there left. But you do not have to run it clocked. When it is unclocked, yes, we have a crossfader, you can use the tap tempo control to set a tempo. So this can be the basis of your entire system if you want, but we are going to clock it with a 16th note clock. And, oh, wait, real quick, let me show you. If I stop this, I can use the phrase scrubber to move through all of the steps of the sequence. So each one of those is a step in the sequence. We have 8 outputs on top. Those could be voltages or gates. And we have 8 pages of 8 steps. So that is, if my math is correct, 64 steps available to us within the sequencer, which is a lot, and that's fantastic. So each one of these can be voltages or gates. They can be quantized or unquantized voltages. And we can set a range for each output. So there's 8 outputs, and each can have up to 64 steps. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. Let's start by getting some pitch. I'm going to take channel 1 here, and I'm going to put it into the pitch of our Loquelic Iteratus Percedo. I'm going to set that to loop mode so it just kind of plays, and we'll get that into our mixer real quick. Oh, beautiful. All right. So now if I start turning these, we will hear that we are sending out voltages. Now it's very doomy, gloomy. Let me go ahead and turn that delay a little bit. We're going to get Stevie out of this. So blue is positive, and red is negative. That's cool. If I want to, I can quantize this. I'm going to hold down the channel quantize button here and turn the knob to the channel. So there's major. We've got a whole bunch of different scales to choose from. I'm going to turn it to the teal color, which is major pentatonic. This thing actually has some really interesting scales to choose from, like Lydian dominant, bebop, enigmatic, Vietnamese, yo, 16 tet, 21 tet, and we can even have it set out gates if we want to. Let's choose a different page by pressing the page button. I'm not hearing this page, but I can come in and change the voltages for this page. If I want to, I can hold down that page and hit play, and it will switch to that page. If I want page 1 to play into page 2, I'm going to hold down shift and turn the length button to include the steps of page 2. Let me move my stupid head real quick. There we go. Yeah. So you can see that I can choose how many steps into page 2. So we can do polymetric stuff. I can choose it to be like 4 steps or 7 steps or 6 steps. I don't know, however many steps you want. I'm not your dad. All right, I'm gonna get channel 2 set up here to send gates out. So I'm gonna plug this into the excite input of our low-pass gate, and then I'm going to select channel 2 by holding down channel and hit 2. There we go. Now I'm editing channel 2. If I hold down the quantize thing and change it to the green color, it's going to send out gates. So second knob, nope, not that knob, that knob, there we go. There we go. So that's gates. So now if I turn these, I'm going to start putting green events on here, and these are gates. Now, one interesting thing about this is you may notice that some of these green things are brighter than others, and that's because of the gate length. This is one of my favorite things about this. It has variable gate length, and that's just really rare in a sequencer, at least to me, So I really, really like that that's there. Holding down the fine control and turning these will swing them. You can have per channel swing. So you can really Dilla-esque out some stuff here. It's pretty wild. You can do negative swing too. If I hold down glide and ratchet here with gate mode and turn these, I can introduce ratchets. Yeah. So you can increase the number of ratchets by increasing the color there, basically, turning it more to the right. Let me go back to channel 1, hold down the glide ratchet. This will be glides. Yeah. The amount of glide is like how much you turn it. I love that. Already, like, this is fantastic for a sequencer. Like, gliding and ratcheting this simple, I really, really, really like it. I can also introduce probability. So I've held shift and glide. You can see all of these are unlit. That means that they will always occur exactly the same way. So I'm going to turn some of these up really, really high, like this. Now, if I hold shift and turn the right knob, that red one, it's going to increase the amount of randomness that those ones I introduce probability to. So you'll hear this note shift, and it will stay quantized. This is a fun performance control because you can increase and decrease the sort of complexity of your session. Shift plus start changes the first lowest step of the sequence. We also have phase, which will take both the start and the end and shift them left and right, respectively, together. So you can phase the whole sequence to the left or phase the whole sequence to the right. Let's get some of these outputs here engaged in modulating our low-pass gate and our voice. All right, direction. If I hold down shift and I change that knob right there, we will switch between forward, backwards, ping pong, and random. We also have a transpose function, so you can transpose your entire sequence up and down semitones or octaves, whatever works for you. It also transposes, I think, the voltage that we're using for modulation, so it's kind of an interesting artifact of the whole thing. Holding shift and turning this knob is the clock division of the incoming clock, so you can slow it down like that. Also, we have range control for each channel. So if I hold shift and channel quantize, I can switch between different voltage ranges for the outgoing signal. So we have -5 to 10, 0 to 10, -5 to +5, 0 to 5, 0 to 3, and 0 to 1. So that's really fantastic. Great addition to how the sequencer works. Okay, so now that we have this, we still can't scrub through here, and we can actually send CV into the CV input and mess around with it. That's the little jack on the upper right-hand corner there. So we're gonna add some CV to the CV input and use a little bit of CV to push it around. This can get messy really, really quick. So that's the intro to the Catalyst sequencer. I'm going to show you a bunch more patches. In fact, all the patches with the Catalyst sequencer. Are you ready for more patches with the Catalyst sequencer? How about some more? Let's go. All right, so in this one, we're going to be using the Catalyst sequencer to manipulate not only almost all of elements, mutable instruments elements, but also a bunch of external effects. Let's start adding stuff in. So I'm going to turn the random up like we talked about earlier. So some of the steps will be randomized. And now I'm going to turn up the modulation on elements. Now you're hearing some of that modulation on elements. Gates and CV. Remember, gates are green, CV is blue. I'm also adding bass and guitar from the montage. I'm playing it in afterwards in live. So if you hear that, don't worry, it's coming from a keyboard. Okay, it's data bender. So we need to plug in our control for the mix. This is now adding mix voltages to it. Mimeophone. We're affecting the repeats and the zone. So the point of this is you can do really amazing modulation sequencing to your voices and effects. And the randomization means that you'll always get something alive and moving around. It's really, really cool. So this has been very, very fun, but I need to show you some other patches. So I'm going to take you from this, and I'm going to bring you into the world of zaps. Okay, in this one, we are using almost all the channels out into the winter modular zaps. Every hole in zaps has been filled. And right now it's kind of boring, but if we turn the random up again, you'll start getting some interesting variations. Every channel is said to have a ton of randomization on it. If we choose different banks on zaps, we'll really hear it. I love the fact that it combines modulation CV with pitch CV. We can also transpose it, which transposes the CV and pitch information. I don't know how I've discovered this, but I just stopped the clock and now I'm scrubbing through the sequence and it's affecting a bunch of different effects and zaps. And oh my God, this is wild. I would like to give a shout out to 4MS for these manuals. These are wonderful to have, and they are really, really well written. Yeah, just thank you, 4MS, for making manuals. All right, so we can't talk about complex sequencing without throwing it all at the world's most favorite macro oscillator, mutable instruments plates. So I have every hole of plates filled, including model, and it is running into Ghost, Databender, and Magneto. Ghost is getting 2 channels from the sequencer that will adjust the cutoff frequency and the reverb tail and amount, I believe. And then everything else is going into plates. So pitch, trigger, and then model, harmonics, and timbre. This is going to jump all over the place. And what I've done is I've also set up a bunch of randomization so we can go from a complex, cool rhythmic sequence. But once I start increasing the random amount, it's going to get really, really interesting. So let's go. So this is just Modbap Trinity. Once I hit play on the sequencer, we'll hear plates. Already, I gotta say, that is cool as hell. You can see the model jumping around. Now you can play plates and get even cooler stuff. We didn't even touch random yet. Let me turn down Ghost cutoff frequency. So now you can hear the modulation on that. That's so cool. I'm going to go ahead and increase the random amount here on the sequencer. Yeah. I love that. This is pure modular to me. I love the sound. I'm gonna turn up Databender a little bit. Changing the direction on the sequencer. You can also hear some of the pitch glides in there as well. This ends the first half of the video where I thought I was working with the Catalyst sequencer. Next, we're going to move on to the Catalyst sequencer. Again, all Catalyst sequencer. Here we go. Here we are. Welcome to the Catalyst sequencer again. I will be showing you other situations with the Catalyst sequencer, but it will be wearing the Catalyst controller faceplate. It's got the Catalyst sequencer firmware on it, and I didn't know. The scenes can be switched between like hard, or you can increase the morph command between them, and it'll be a soft morph between them. And that's a degree that you choose per channel. So red is no morph. There we go. And then blue is morph. So very, very cool. This could be used for so many things. Let's take a step back and I'll show you how this patch is working. The 4MS Ensemble Oscillator is our sound source. We are modulating warp, spread, and twist. So with 3 channels of the Catalyst sequencer per stage. This is running over into our VCA. The volume of the VCA is being modulated by our Rampage function generator here, a rise-fall function generator, but the rise and fall of it are being also manipulated by the Catalyst sequencer. So each scene has a different voltage for that, and since it loops, it's like this cool looping LFO. The output of the clock for Rampage is clocking 3 effects. I love that. First, it's going into Ruina Versio for a little bit of edge now and then. That's not getting a clock. Then it's going to go into Databender, and that is getting clocked. And then it's going over into Starlab, which is also being clocked by the end of Rise output. The wet is being controlled by the Catalyst sequencer. So different steps will have different amounts of reverb. That is going into C-Legs for extra that. And the clock is all determined by the rate of the function generator. There's C-Legs over there. So this is just one example of how the Catalyst scene controller can move stuff around in your rack. They think of it as a sort of preset system, but I see it as so much more. It is a wonderful creative tool. Oh, yeah, and you can CV modulate it. All right. So now, almost the exact same setup as before, same oscillator, same effects, but obviously we're using a sequence. I'm going to show you the presets that I've set up. Still only using 8. We have so many, but I just need 8 to show you what's up. So here's the bass one. The return to 0. This one's a bit brighter. This one has Ruina for distortion. Cross FM on the 4MS oscillator. Ah, there it is. That's with Starlab and C-Legs. The fact that we can just turn up decay and wetness of our effects is really cool. There's a sort of a crunchy, bit-rotted one. Even smaller, just kind of return to form. And then big and wet. This is with no morph on, so we're hard cutting between these. Also, I found out something cool. If I hold down the bank button and then turn off any visible bank, it's going to show me what each channel's CV is. Can't edit here, which is a little too bad. That'd be really, really cool. But yeah, I love this view. All right, so let's go ahead and clock this now and move through that with a clock sequence. We've done this before, obviously, with the sequencer side. I thought I was doing something new with this, but no, we're just basically clocking the sequencer now. So let's get that going and get a reset signal going and see how it sounds. That's getting a gate from the constellation over there on the right. Right now it's a quarter note, but I can change that. Or I can make it really fast. Super cool. Let's go ahead and get some CV signals into the CV input and see what it's like to move through this with some control voltage modulation of various shapes. So let me pick a random voltage. Random and quarter note. Or random eighth note. That's pretty cool. Or random 16th note. That's also pretty cool. I could try like a ramp or something. Oh wait, no, that's cool. Oh, I like that. Let me try slowing it down. Yeah, that's great. All right, so that's another patch showing off how you can set up different sort of preset states with the Catalyst sequencer. So this is what I would call, I don't know, like an apex predator patch. Two Catalyst sequencers working together. Our friend here on the left is sending out mostly just gates. We are getting one pitch sequence to something, but you can see almost all of our channels are green gates. And what these are doing is triggering various envelope generators that are driving the volumes of our patch. So we have a couple different oscillators involved here. We're using the siren oscillator, and we're using Manus Ateritas for bass, and we're using the Instro Kroonen for another bass, and then eventually I'll play this on top, the pizza oscillator through Mimeophone. So what's happening here is this is handling our gates and one pitch sequence, and then over here, we're going to be using this to switch not only different voltages for modulation, but also the notes that our basses are playing. So we'll have modulation and our bass notes. I have a video on the main channel I did a while ago about separating pitches and gates and how powerful it is in Eurorack. And this friend shows off exactly why, how powerful it is, because that's going to drive all of our rhythms. And then the one on the right is going to drive our pitches and modulation. Let's hit play. All right, so if I hold down bank quantize, you notice that these sort of light colored ones over on the right there, these are voltages, unquantized voltages. Those ones are pitches, pentatonic minor. And so what we're gonna get is on each one of our scenes, a different set of voltages that will drive our rack sounds, but also different pitches for the bass lines. There's the Kroonen. This is Manus Ateritas. Kind of hiding in the background there. There we go. So listen to what happens when I move this. New pitch for both of the oscillators and timbre changes. And effect changes. What you just heard was the parameters of the siren oscillator being manipulated, the pitch of Manus Ateritas, the pitch of Instro Kroonen, and also wet, dry for our effects, sea legs, and what else? And ghost. Manus is running through ghost. So, timbre changes, big timbre changes, and effect changes. One of the things I used to do with Renee would be send out pitch via the Renee, but gates via something else. And then I would use the quant page on Renee, and I would switch the note on it to basically make a bass line on the fly. So I would have a rhythm going from something else and pitches from Renee. So pretty much what we're doing here, but Renee would have a lot less precision than the Catalyst sequencer does. So, with just 8 steps, I can create a whole song's worth of changes and sequence my rack at the same time. The only stuff that's not being sequenced here by the Catalyst stuff is the drums and pizza, because I'm playing that live. So it's just an insane amount of creative control you get over your entire rack. I'm just going to play a little bit. This patch was a lot of work to set up, so I'm going to jam a tiny bit. All right, well, here is the last patch I will be showing you today. Honestly, the sequencer is so deep that I feel like I could probably spend 2 hours showing you different use cases and still have new things to show you. As the patch plays near the end here, I will show you or tell you some stuff that I haven't shown you yet, because there's a lot. Right now, nothing is coming out of here. You're hearing drums sequenced by Constellation coming out of the VPM EQD, and you're hearing a choir out of Morphogene. I'm going to hit play on the left catalyst sequencer, and we will hear something happen. Here we go. When you don't have any channel or bank selected, you can see the CV from each channel. And you can see here is that we have gates in the green, gates, and 2 voltages. This is the gate for our bass line. This is the gate for an arpeggiated line, second arpeggiated line. This is the pitch voltage for that one. That's the pitch voltage for that one. And this is a gate for a chord. But none of these you're hearing right now are drums in Morphogene because the right catalyst sequencer has all the rest of the stuff. So let's get going. What I've done here is set up pitches and sort of CV gates. And what they do is they change the pitches of our bass line and open up VCAs that allow those arpeggiators to come through. It's sending out a gate on these two to advance Morphogene. Because you can use voltage to open up VCAs completely and close them, the voltages coming out of these different channels open up the VCAs associated with the arpeggiated sounds. You also hear on occasion a little wow in the bass line. That's because I have a gate setting to the Acid Rain's Maestro. The Maestro has an input for each channel where if you put a trigger into it, it will advance through its chain once and send out one voltage shape. So every single time I go to a new scene, it sends out a trigger and I get a little bit of modulation. Let's go through our scenes. So that allowed one of the other arpeggiators in, and it also advanced the morphogene sound because I'm using the gate into the shift input. Now you can hear some chords. And that's because while this line has always been going, the voltage has opened up the filter that lets it through. Now you're hearing a little bit of data bender on the drums. The last one is set for the data bender mix. So you can create these really evocative sort of moments in your rack and move through them. So I can change between these on the fly and basically have a song built just via this thing. Or I could sequence them and let it go. And that's going to leave my hands free to play around a little bit. So let's just recap. Remember that this is not the Catalyst sequencer and the Catalyst controller. It's just two of the Catalyst sequencers. I was sent the units with the wrong firmware on the Catalyst controller. That said, the Catalyst sequencer is absolutely a joy to use. Super, super fun, super powerful. You can save states and recall them as well. I like it quite a bit, and two of them together is just really, really mutable and really, really powerful. I really, really like the sequencer. A song mode on the sequencer, plus probably some other stuff I forgot to mention. So this is one of those things I recommend you go check out the manual on, all right? Go online, check the manual, read up on it, see if this baby is right for you. I think they're cool as hell. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Thank you Formas for sending these units over for me to do this video with. It's a treat. These are very unique, and I have, again, only scratched the surface of what I think these can do in the context of anyone's rack. I'm smitten. This has been Red Means Recording Modular. My name is Jeremy, and I humbly request that you kiss your cat right on the lips. Bye.